The Marston Vale line runs from Bedford to Bletchley. Brickworks dominate the skyline. A landfill site is accessed at Forders Siding in Stewartby, which is where 58032 is heading with the Cricklewood bin liner. Forders also sees spoil trains from Bletchley. During August, sprinters released from Centro were introduced onto the line. Up to that time, the line was best known for its use of 1959 built Class 117s and has seen here 1960 built Class 121 bubble cars. Note the unique application of Silverlink livery to the front unit. However, these units were by now so unreliable that a pair of Fragonset Class 31s were hired again until enough sprinters were available. Let's see all these in action for the last time. This part of the West Coast Main Line parallels the Grand Union Canal. During April, CrossCountry Services were unusually routed this way. This is the 12:20 Brighton to Edinburgh. Next, two 86s and a 90 work the 4:55 Trafford Park to Felixstowe Freightliner. This is the Serco track test train. The 10:59 Ipswich to Crewe Freightliner heads through the disused Mainline platforms at Hatch End. A former RFD 47 working is the 8:53 Washwood Heath to Wembley car train. Although no longer booked to work Virgin West Coast services, 86s still occasionally appear on the Wolverhampton line. Heading for Brighton are DRS liveried 2308 and 37612, with the Best of Both Worlds rail tour from Preston. 37604 is at the back. North West trains provided a short-lived service to London. This is the 1019 from Manchester Airport. This provided a rare opportunity to see a Class 322 at Euston. At the beginning of the year, the four remaining EWS 33s were marshalled together inside Hither Green Depot, ready for their move to Immingham for storage the next day. The move itself took place on January 4th. Preserved 33208 top and tailed the Capital Explorer with U-Class 31625. 66-102 brings in a rake of Anglia stock for use on what was to be an unsuccessful attempt to break the record for a non-stop run between Waterloo and Weymouth. Into Kent now, where the Faversham to Dover line still contains a few semaphores and original boxes. With the start of the summer timetable, Networker Express Class 365 units started operating this route. We'll now see the old order in action. Note the set reduced to 3 cars in an attempt to improve acceleration. On the Medway Vale line, Class 508s from the South Western via Merseyside replace slam door stock on some services. To celebrate Maidstone's 450 years as a borough, Connext organised a steam and diesel shuttle. Running tender first is BR Standard Tank 80098. Also taking part was Tracy and Alan Lear's preserved 33021, painted postal red to reflect the occupation of its owners, a livery they never carried in service. A short-term contract to move spoil from Hastings to Allington surprisingly saw pairs of 31s in charge on a few occasions. Note the only one of the class in EWS livery, 31466. By the end of the year, only 5 EWS 31s remained, and all based at Hither Green. They were also used to move ballast from Grain to Hoo Junction. In January, Pathfinder's Kent Container Rail Tour from Crewe visited the Grain branch with 60039 and 66042. The flat area immediately behind the line was the site of Charnel Street Exchange sidings used by the King's North Light Railway until closure in 1940 and the Chatham Naval Tramway until closure in 1961, the date the Grain branch also shut to passengers. In the distance is King's North Power Station. Railtrack have retained some former subunits dating from 1946 for sandite and de-icing work. Following a tragic mistake in the paint shop, this is their new livery. This is the former EPB unit converted to a route learner. Extra windows are provided at the front and rows of seats are arranged in tiers immediately behind the driver. Next is a combined Hoo Junction to Sittingbourne and Sheerness Enterprise working. Note 37516, the only member of the class to have load hall livery without the logo, and the 73 at the back with the Sheerness portion. Further load haul mayhem during May as 56074 heads the Kent Coastman Rail Tour from Plymouth to Ramsgate. In April, 34027 Tor Valley hauled the Orient Express. Next, we visit the Mid-Sussex Line to see the Siphon Symphony. This featured a pair of the dwindling 370 subclass on one of their final rail tours and ran from Finsbury Park to Littlehampton and Newhaven via Horsham. To promote day trips to the Surrey Hills by rail, Connex organised the Dorking Gala Day. This featured British Railway Standard Class 5 locomotive 73096 on shuttles to Horsham. On one of the wettest days in May, this is the empty stock movement from Alton, followed by shots of the event itself. Next, a look at the Waterloo to Reading line, the fastest growing route on the South Western. A circular trip from Victoria via Guildford and East Croydon saw Deltic D9000 at the head of the urban Suburban. A flurry of activity takes place during Royal Ascot Week. Here one of the two Royal locos, 47799 Prince Henry, is seen with the Pride of the Nation stock en route to Ascot to form a return working to Manchester. The imminent introduction of the new Class 458 Juniper units will see these slam door trains replaced. Passing the site of the original Twickenham station are two Forveps. One of the busiest stations is Feltham, which is being revamped as part of a scheme to provide better bus interchange facilities to Heathrow Airport. Meanwhile, desperate for stock, even redundant forceps from the southeastern have been given yet another lease of life. Freight from the southwest Mainline runs via Chertsey before joining the line at Virginia Water. Here 58040, deputising for a Class 66, works the Eastleigh to Dagenham car train. This was the final summer of Class 73 operated Gatwick Express services. Originally built in 1962, 14 of the class were subsequently allocated to work the new dedicated Gatwick service in 1984. With 7 sets in use, they run every quarter of an hour, covering the 26-mile journey in 30 minutes. They work in push-pull mode, with driving van trailers converted from former 2 HAP units, providing a cabin baggage facilities at the London end. We'll now follow these trains on their journey to the airport. Keep your eyes open for double headers. Delays occur to down services just outside the airport as they cross the up fast line to reach the Gatwick Express platforms. Their complete replacement by Class 460 Darth Vader units is scheduled for the spring of 2000. Connecting the north and south terminals is the People Mover, which operates by magnetic levitation. The two cross-country services to Brighton are still loco-hauled. This is 47814 with the 0920 Brighton to Edinburgh. Accelerating away from its stop at East Croydon is the 0605 Preston to Brighton, hauled by 47810. Next is 47711 with the 1415 Brighton to Preston. The loco at the back failed on the inward journey. Cross-country HSTs were finally cleared for the Portsmouth direct line and put to use during March on Bournemouth diversions. From the start of the summer timetable, Virgin introduced a Portsmouth to Blackpool service. Booked for an HST, the first 3 weeks produced top and tailed 47s. Now a look at some of the lines used by trains avoiding the London terminals. Traditional signalling practice is still operated at Kew East Junction, situated on the link connecting the South Western to the North London line. In January, U-Class 31625 pops up again with the West London Explorer. By sheer coincidence, another rail tour featuring a former Southern Railway locomotive also passed the junction on the same day, although in the opposite direction. This is Merchant Navy Class 35005 Canadian Pacific with the Merchant Capitalist from Crewe to Victoria. Now to the West London line. This starts in Willesden and connects the West Coast Main Line and North London Line to the Southern. 92022 on overhead AC power hauls the 0933 Wembley to Dollans Moor for onward connection to Lille. Next is the inward working of the Brighton CrossCountry Service we saw at Wandsworth. As 47839 failed at Didcot, 47711 was summoned and worked the train forward 88 minutes late. In June, the 1810 Barrow to Hoo Junction Enterprise service unusually saw a Class 73 work the train from Wembley. West Brompton Station reopened at the start of the summer timetable. It was the first time a train had called here in 59 years. Meanwhile, at the southern end of the line, 47353 heads the Leeds to Thamesport Freightliner. '92s can also work on third rail DC power. The other pair of lines come from the southwestern. The Midhands 33208 is returning the Queen of Scots set to Clapham Yard via reversal at Battersea. Onto the North London line. This connects the southern, western, west coast, midland, northeastern and eastern. 56025 hauls a train of Plasmore concrete blocks from Heck to Bow. Above is the Liverpool Street to Hackney Downs line. Running through the reopened station at Dalston Kingsland is the new Cricklewood to Wembley Enterprise service, worked by 66116. A freight loop is provided at Canonbury, where a pair of 86s head the 0730 Lawley Street to Felixstowe Freightliner. Providing an alternative route from the North London line to the Eastern region is the Gospel Oak to Barking line. With the Liverpool Street line again in the background, this is 47334 with the Southampton to Ripple Lane Freightliner. With no facilities at Wembley, Class 66s often run light engine to Stratford to refuel. Class 150s started appearing in July. Until then, Class 117s were used, which along with the Marston Vale DMUs helped to make Silverlink the most unreliable train operating company of all. Let's savour the last days of the last line in London to run proper train. As with the Marston Vale line, the reliability of the DMUs became so bad that drastic action was needed pending the introduction of the 150s. The problem was magnified by the fact that the Gospel Oak line is the furthest away from Silverlink's fitters in Bletchley. The Frag and Set 31s were tried, as were the Class 121 bubble cars. In the end, Cambrian trains preserved 33103 was used as a brief stopgap measure hauling Rolltrack's TC set.